What's up guys, and welcome back to Thrash Chassis Garage. We cleaned up a little bit. It's definitely not clean, but it is significantly better than when we left for Bash to the Future. As you can see, I've already been working on the car a little bit, and I did record it. So we've started off just by pressure washing this car down. So muddy Jackson County Sports Park is definitely not nice to cars. This thing was filthy, man, and it still is. It still needs to be cleaned a lot, but I didn't want to waste a bunch of time scrubbing it down when it's just going to collect dust for the next month or so anyways. But I didn't want to have to work on it with that filth. After we pressure washed the car, I went through and I checked to see what was going on that front end where we were getting that clunk. We found it. It was relatively simple, and we fixed it. So there you go. All right. Well, fortunately enough, it looks like it's just a loose tension rod tension rod. So right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that shit up. The tension rod brackets are fucked. So they're totally caved in on each other, or on themselves. And finally, I've prepared to do a boost leak test. Now, I've actually already done it, but I wanted to take a few moments to kind of show you guys how to do that. This is the tool that I've created to do the boost leak test. Basically, we've got a 2-inch PVC cap. This is the ISR coupler that goes from the mass airflow sensor to my intake pipe. We've drilled a 9/16 inch hole in the top, and we've just put a valve stem in it, just a tire valve stem. All right, so like I said, this is the clamp or the coupler that came with my ISR intake. Now, one thing I forgot to mention on this is you do want to have access to compressed air. You can use a bike pump, but it's kind of hard to build up pressure and still be able to check everything while you're pumping up a bike pump. While we wait for the air compressor to charge up, let's go ahead and talk about the mixture. It's just some dish soap and water. Shake it up, get it nice and sudsy in a squirt bottle. And pretty much what you want to do is you want to go around to all of your couplers and just get a good amount on it. We'll go ahead and add some pressure to the system. I usually do a bit. I mean, honestly. Oh, I forgot a clamp. So here's where one of my leaks is. We're gonna be looking right here on the gasket. And as you can see, it's starting to build up that's about 15 PSI. And basically you wanna go through, do that to all your couplers. Fortunately, none of my couplers were leaking, but that inlet gasket as well as the blow-off valve gasket are both leaking. Now, one thing that I'd like to note, that inlet gasket sees no pressure normally, and it's not really meant to see pressure. As we saw with my AFRs, I'm getting some air that's not metered into the system. Take a wild guess and say that that's probably where it is, since when we increase the vacuum, that goes away. All right, so this ended up working out exactly how I thought it would. I guess we can't always be that lucky, but today we are. So basically how it's gonna be, this blue wire here will come from the power distribution block for probably the fuel pump switch. This is just a ground, it'll be connected to chassis. We don't get the La Cucaracha because I would have to hook up this one. And this sounds better to me anyways. And then in order to turn this off, we're just gonna, this wire here will be connected to our fan switch, and it'll just come into here and it'll silence this alarm. Well, unfortunately, the initial design did not work out. I learned that at the cost of a fuse or two. As you can see, it got a little more complicated. We had to add another relay. There may be a way to do it with just using this one. The Volkswagen world isn't like the 240 world. I can't just like, oh, I want to know what the pinout on this is. You just end up with people on Vortex who are like, nope, can't be done. Can't be done. And so what we did is we basically, this smaller relay, just a normal Bosch relay, light blue wire right here is going to be for, that's going to trigger this relay when the fans are turned on, which will shut off the buzzer. This red wire will come from the fuel pump terminal. As long as the fan is on, the relay won't chime, but the way that this relay works, it basically, like, you've got 85 and 86, they're numbered pins. 85 and 86 are your coil. When you add power and ground to each side of that, it triggers the coil, which makes the relay switch. It's like a light switch that you can control electronically. The other terminals are 30, 87, and 87A. When the coil is not activated, that means there's not either no power or no ground or neither. There's continuity, which means there's power flowing through terminal 37 and 87A. When you flip the switch and you have power going through 85 and 86 through your coil, power through 87A gets cut off and it goes to 87. Traditionally, how we wire these is we use obviously 85 and 86 for a coil. In my car, for instance, the ground side of the coil goes to my switch, and the hot side just goes straight to the fuse. And then also from the hot side, which would be probably 85 or 86, it really doesn't matter which one, but I just have a jumper, kind of like this darker blue wire here. That's not what that is, but just kind of like that from 85 or 86 to 30. And the reason I do that is because I need power at both locations. I'm cool with them running off the same fuse. So the difference is I would normally use 87. Don't want anything operating while the relay is in the off position. And if I wired it to 87A, there'd be power anytime the switch is in the off position. So I wired to 87. 87 gives us power when we flip the switch only. What's cool about these relays, they're a 5-pin relay. If you say, I can't think of any instance where you would, I'm sure there's hundreds of them. If I hadn't wired in like an actual fuse panel, I probably could have just simplified this and used this existing fan relay, but I would have had to tear down my entire fuse block and everything, and that wasn't worth the headache. You can have it, so basically when the switch is off, it does one thing, and when the switch is on, it does another, which this would be perfect for that. If I had this wired up the exact same, 87, instead of just being empty, go out to my fans, that would be another way I could have done it. Since it's wired up in the fuse block, this is just gonna be easier. And then on this end, we've just got 3 wires. We've got the red, which will go to pretty much any switch top, but in my instance, we're gonna do the fuel pump. So every time that I turn the fuel pump switch on, it's gonna buzz at me. Yeah, that could get really fucking annoying if I need to like check fuel pressure or something. I might switch it to the ECU side eventually, but right now there's so much stuff on that terminal. It would be a pain in the ass to have to hook it up. But I'm gonna go throw this in and test it out, but we should have no problems. We should have our fan reminder. I know I'm gonna get a lot of shit from maybe some of you guys. I shouldn't need this, you're right. Like, I should remember to turn the fan on, but it has already happened twice. Once that it was like, oh shit. I know that I'm going to forget in the future, and, the livelihood of my SR isn't worth, not having this. This didn't cost me anything. It's all parts that we had laying around. I spent, probably an hour just developing it and making it, work out. But, for an hour of my time and some spare parts that, has potential to keep this thing running for even longer, I'm gonna fucking do it. All right, so just a quick sample. That's fuel on, fans off. It takes a minute, and we're back. Does exactly what I needed to do. I don't think I'll be forgetting to turn the fans on anymore. That's right, mental list. Check. So, kind of like I've said in the past, and we've talked about briefly, I change spark plugs after every event. I change my oil after every event. And I say that like I've had a lot of experience at events. I haven't. But that's just been something that, if you're going to beat the shit out of your fucking car, take care of it. Got some fresh plugs. I run 4.4s. BKR7Es. 4.644 NGKs, just coppers. This bucket was drained before. This is just the fluid from the car. I mean, you guys can see the color of the oil, and that's why, I'll say it again, I change my oil every time. All right, got the spark plug cover off and found another issue. Coil pack 3. I didn't tighten it, or it somehow backed itself loose. We'll be keeping an eye on that in the future. when we put the plugs in and everything, I'll make sure everything's tight, and then we'll just double check it day or two into hot August nights. And just like that, we've got the spark plugs all replaced. I did notice while I was doing that my O2 sensor hasn't been plugged in this entire time. Could be a potential reason why I'm running lean at idle and it's fine under load. I don't know. We'll plug it in and take a look. Also, I decided to gap the plugs this time at 0.028 under recommendation from some friends, and also doing a little research. So with the change in the plugs, I don't think it's gonna work. I think I'm gonna have to put a little bit more gap in there. All right, so still running really lean, but it's come down. It's at like 15.4 right now. I haven't changed anything. That's kind of why I'm stopped. I've been looking for my vacuum leaks. It's only running like 12 to 15 inches of vacuum. Might suggest bad internals. All right, so on the continued hunt for where I'm losing vacuum, I decided to move my cap here, eliminate the stuff that I know is already a problem. And so basically we're testing from this point through the front mount, up over into the intake manifold and everything, as well as all my vacuum lines. I don't have anything that really suggests that a vacuum line is an issue. I've tried doing numerous tests and haven't found anything, but I did find something in this test, and I'm going to show you. We're looking at a CX Racing Greddy knockoff blow-off valve. That's about 12 PSI, and I can hear this leaking. If you'll notice also, there's no nut on here anymore. It must have backed itself off. I'd say that's a pretty good leak. I'm not sure if putting a nut on it is gonna fix my problem, but I know that it's a problem and it's not there. Okay, so we made a fair amount of progress today as far as things that I wanted to get done. We got the oil change done. I'm gonna add check oil. The plugs are done. I guess that's really it. And then we'll question mark that. Running the with the blow-off valve disconnected, didn't change anything. Despite the you know, good size leak we had there or whatever. Still potentially an issue internally. Perhaps the compression is low and so the motor's just not pulling the vacuum it needs. I guess that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me because I'm running lean. And I would think if it was internal, unless it's like valve seats, but even then, I don't know. You guys, I'm sure somebody out there knows a little bit more about fundamentals and like internals of a motor. Could like low compression or like bad rings or like bad valve seats or valve seals or whatever, could that cause a lean condition just at idle? Anyways, guys, thanks for checking us out, and we'll see you later. Bye. Oh, also, I'm not sure if we discussed this at Bash the Future, but Zach Abercrombie, who does like the Abercrombie like angle kits and stuff, he confirmed that this angle kit is his. Pretty much criticized me because I've got it set up all wrong. The control arms need to be a little bit longer. They need to be boxed. They need to be notched for the tie rod. The GK Tech tie rods are too big, and so I'm not getting as much angle as I could, blah, blah, blah. But it was really cool to catch some feedback from him. So we'll go a little longer on the control arms when we redo them. We're definitely going to notch them out for the tie rod. Probably not going to change it because I really like those GK Tech outer tie rods. Good word of advice. Thanks, Zach, for taking a look and finally settling that debate once and for all. So, good shit. 3, 2. Hey, guy. But it is significantly better than when we left for Bash to the Future. Oh, Jesus. Fuck. We're waiting for the camera to start. Oh, there you go.